Earl, we mentioned it this morning. We were talking about what it would take for us to fully buy into the Browns and whether or not either A, you're currently all in, this team is legit, zero questions in my mind. B, if they beat Baltimore on Sunday, then I'm all in. Or C, I want to wait till the 49ers game to make my full decision on how I feel about this team for the rest of the season. Where do you fall heading into this Sunday's game with Baltimore on the scale of how bought into the Browns are you already?
I think if they can beat Baltimore, which when we were originally going through the games and picking wins and losses, I had them beating Baltimore. If the offense can perform against arguably a really good defense, going and then 2 weeks to prepare for the 49ers defense as well, I will take a win to Baltimore and a loss to the 49ers and still be all bought in. I don't know if I will take a loss to both. So they have to win one of the two. I think they're going to win Baltimore, and if they win both of them, I mean, obviously you got to be fully bought in at that point. But I think if they can come in and the defense can shut down Lamar Jackson this weekend, and the offense can get clicking on all cylinders against this defense, I don't know what many more questions we're going to have to ask next week as we go into the bye week.
I mean, for me, I'm all the way bought in right now. I can't go off of what I said. I said this in July. I believe the Browns is going to play in the AFC Championship. Who they're going to play, I don't know. It might sound silly to some people on certain weeks. It might look legit to other people on other weeks. Personally, that's where I am. That's where I stand. The defense has proven to me to be a Super Bowl caliber defense. I know I said that during the Monday night game. A lot of people kind of came at me like I was tripping. But you can say it's only 3 games, but I've told you, I can only go off the information that I've been given both with my eyes and just, word of mouth from OTAs until now. And that defense plays with a certain intensity, with a certain swagger, with a certain attitude, with a certain just everything led by Jim Schwartz that I just believe it's a Super Bowl caliber defense. And throughout 3 games, it's been a historic defense, throughout the NFL's history. And so, of course, it's not going to, be this bizarre and this out of the world all season long. But I definitely believe that they can maintain what they've built on that side of the ball. And we know defense travels. I mean, as far as the offense goes, I agree with what Leroy said earlier. I thought last Sunday was the first game that Deshaun Watson looked absolutely comfortable playing a quarterback position for the Cleveland Browns. It's almost like something clicked. Then I go back to what Mary Kay said yesterday, that sometimes she believes that we're doing Deshaun Watson and Kevin Stefanski, for that matter, a disservice for trying to combine his 6 games last year with the 3 games that he's played this year, understanding that he stepped into a situation last year where the offense was really tailored for the quarterback that was starting for the first 11 games. And yeah, you changed some things, but a lot of the things stayed the same. We both know that you can't just alter an entire offense that late into the season. And so Deshaun Watson can maintain that level of play that he put on display last Sunday. We'll see. I think this matchup is fun. I think this matchup is exciting. I'm looking forward to the challenge. The Browns defense has not seen a quarterback with Lamar Jackson style of play yet. And we all know that Lamar Jackson is 4-0 in games that he started and finished in the Kevin Stefanski era. So regardless of the outcome of this game or the game against San Francisco, I got to stand on business with what I said. I think the Browns are going to play in the AFC Championship. Mike, I can't just I'm all in no matter what, no matter how ugly or how good it look week to week. That's just me.
When you go in a pool and it's cold, like, it's June 3rd, it hasn't been that hot in Cleveland, and it's the pool's like 72 degrees, and you got to kind of slow your way in and let your body adjust before you can dive in.
Yeah.
I am all in on this defense. Zero questions on this defense. Offensively, I can't be fully submerged in the Kool-Aid until I see it one more time. I need 2 performances. We saw 2 subpar offensive performances to start the season. We saw a very good offensive performance against Tennessee. I need another one before I can be fully submerged in the offensive Kool-Aid here. So in the scale of the 3 ranks I gave, I still need to see them perform well against Baltimore before I'm like, this team is as good as I really think they can be. But I'm confident in this. if the defense plays as well as it has through 3 games, and obviously not at the historic rate, they're going to give up a touch. It's going to happen. Guys, real quick. They're going to give up more than 1 touchdown the rest of the season. I'm telling you, it's going to happen.
Are you sure?
I
thought you were bought in.
They might give up 2 in 1 game. Like, it might happen. I'm just giving you fair warning now. The world is not ending, and as long as that defense is as good as it should be, and they stay healthy, there's no reason that regardless of how the offense plays, they shouldn't be in every game. Like, I go back to that Pittsburgh game, and it still baffles me how they lost Pittsburgh. There is no reason in the world that we shouldn't be 3-0 right now. The Cleveland Browns should be undefeated in sole possession of first place. The defense played so damn good. It was one play. They gave that 71-yard slant to Kenny Pickett and George Pickens. And outside of that, Pittsburgh didn't do anything. And the offense was abysmal. 4 turnovers, the strip sack, the pick 6. Like, it was bad. And they were in the game to the very end. And if the defense can play 80%, 70% of that level, it doesn't really matter how the offense performs because they're going to have a chance to win. Like, that's the scary part of how good this Browns defense can be. But before I jump in on Browns to the Super Bowl train, I do need one more positive offensive performance from Deshaun Watson, from the running game. I need to see Elijah Moore get a little more involved. David Njoku, help a brother out, man. I bought all your stock. I don't want to sell it. I'm still sitting on it, but I need you to come through for me. So I still need one more game, and hopefully it's Baltimore. Because if they beat up on Baltimore, we have 2 weeks to prepare for the game of the season. That San Francisco-Cleveland game, Week 6, in Cleveland Brown Stadium, is going to be the game of the early slate of the season. And if we have 2 weeks on a win to lead up to that.
Man, I don't like how you talking. I don't like how you talking because I was doing that. I was doing that week 1. I ain't even worried about next week. I just want to stay right here because I got worried about next week when we was time to play Tennessee, looking ahead to the Titans. So I got to stay right here in the moment. I mean, it's gonna be one of them games, right? This is a divisional opponent. This is a well-coached team, a team that got a pretty good defense, a team that has a franchise quarterback who's a former MVP. And so, like, this is honestly, it's a significant test for the Browns defense. It'd be interesting to see, how they respond to a player like Lamar Jackson, who's the best running quarterback in the NFL, uber athletic, and a guy that knows how to make plays. Yeah, his numbers is not eye-popping, but the dude is completing 73% of his passes right now. And, that can't go unnoticed. So we'll see how we do. As far as the Browns offense go, it's a work in progress, right? And I guess I'm a little bit more relaxed, less anxious after just that Mary Kay Cabot interview. Like, this is still relatively brand new. And again, we put so much emphasis and so much stock on, the 6 games last year, the install of a offense that Deshaun Watson, quote unquote, has the keys to, and then expecting it to be able to execute at its fullest level right out the gate. And maybe we had unrealistic expectations. Like, this is still like they are pros, and this is still like, other guys getting paid, etc. Like, it's a work in progress. This is not something that's just, you whip it up, you throw it in the microwave, and then it's ready to go. This is something that's in that slow cooker, cooking on a Sunday while you in church with your grandmother all day, and it ain't ready to eat till about 7 o'clock at night. It sounds like it's one of those situations. And they trying to build this thing for the long haul. So, I mean, Mike, they can duplicate the performance next week. They can lay an egg 2 weeks in a row. Like, it's going to be a work in progress, throughout the season. But what I do believe is Ford really has gotten his confidence back and can play to that level. Then as we continue to work throughout the kinks of this offense, like you said, the defense is going to always give us enough to win. And if that's as good as it gets last week, then we in there like swimwear, and we all know it's going to get better than that.
I'll tell you this. If we're going to use your slow cooker analogy, Earl, then the Browns defense right now is the pastor who goes on way too long, and you keep checking your watch like he's still talking. But guess what? It's all right because the Browns defense is going to be there to hold you down until the offense finds its footing. The reality with the offense is Deshaun Watson was unbelievable on Sunday. I went back. I've watched the all 22 now. He didn't miss Like, he was so quick and decisive with his decisions. And the ball was placed 80. His completion percentage over expected, was 82%, the highest of any quarterback in the league this season. He didn't really miss. And even the throws that were slightly off target, like maybe a little behind somebody or a little high, little low, they were all catchable passes. There was nothing that was just a straight misfire for the most part. He had one or two, but that every quarterback has one or two. Nothing to be concerned about. He just looked like a different player. And I'm curious to see now if we see that version again, if we see an improved version. Does he take us to me, that's the most fascinating storyline of this game. What happens to Deshaun Watson? Because I could see him getting even better. I mean, he threw 289, 2 touchdowns. Should have been a little more with the Cooper play, regardless. But he's had games where he's thrown for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. So that was not the best Deshaun Watson could play. Is he going to take a step back? And frankly, I lean towards him playing better because I was waiting for that one game to build upon. I don't know, though. You know what I mean? I don't know, and I don't think anyone knows, including Deshaun and Kevin Stefanski. But the fact that Deshaun came up there today, and Earl, I know you listened to the press conference, that man sounds cool, calm, and collected.
Yeah, he do.
And he seems under control and sounds under control and at peace with what Kevin Stefanski's asking him to do within this offense. And we won't know till Sunday. I'm not looking at any more silly dimes he throws in practice. I'm not looking at any more Elijah Moore highlights because we haven't seen that in 3 games yet. Like, you can put anything you want on Twitter, Browns. I need to see it on Sundays. He sounds like a guy that is confident he's headed in the right direction. And that's what I have to go off because the last thing I saw from him was stellar. He sounds confident. Why am I to believe that won't continue on Sunday?
Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, his body language, his tone of voice, the way he answered the questions. Shout out to him, by the way, for wearing that East Cleveland Chiefs Community League football hoodie, man. That was dope. Way to represent. But, I mean, to me, Deshaun Watson playing better because you alluded to, we've seen him throw for 400 yards. We've seen him throw for 4 touchdowns in the game. We've seen all that before. Him playing better, and granted, he played, I thought, damn good last week.
Phenomenal.
It's not measured in the stats to me. It's about, okay, looking at those 7 throws or those 6 to 7 throws that weren't that great, you know what I mean, or the decisions that, you know, he could have been better on. Those are the things that if I was him, I'm looking at this week in the film room and say, okay, how can I get better in these areas? Because he did the things that you want your quarterback to do. Like he carried the offense to 3 scoring touchdown drives, and he didn't turn the football over. He put his team in a situation to have success and to put points on the board. And that's what you want him to do. And as long as he continues to do that, you know, I really personally don't care how the numbers look as long as he's not turning the football over. If Deshaun Watson don't have a 300-yard passing game, a 350 passing yard game, or a game where he throws for 3 or 4 touchdowns this year, but he don't turn the ball over and the Browns are winning, then Deshaun Watson is doing exactly what he needs to be doing. Deshaun Watson, in that light, to me, is proven, okay, he's getting better week in and week out. His success and his growth for me will not be measured in the stat department. That's just for me, though.
And what have you seen from Watson?
Oh, sorry, I had to unmute my mic there. I don't know. I'm going to be on after that Pittsburgh game. I'm kind of chalking it up to, I genuinely do think the shock of losing Chubb in the middle of that game impacted that team a lot more than any of us kind of credited it to. Because when they came out against Tennessee, they looked like they had finally recovered, and he looked confident, like you said. His time, everything that we said was off when we were looking at the all 22 from Pittsburgh. His timing, his reads, it seemed to all be clicking. I think he finally settled in. And I mean, we do have to see it for, I think, at least 1 to 2 more games, especially against 2 of the best defenses in the league, if we're really talking Super Bowl level offense. But I'm excited. I'm not bought in on him yet as a whole, but I'm excited. I think he's going to turn the corner, and I think he is heading in the right direction.
The fact that we're having conversations about him heading in the right direction is a positive after the first 2 games and the conversations that followed both Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. On a non-quarterback related note here, Earl, stopping Lamar Jackson is of the utmost importance anytime you play the Ravens, but they have a couple receivers who have kind of given Baltimore a new dynamic offensively. Todd Monken's the new offensive coordinator. Greg Roman's no longer there. Zay Flowers has been their number one option through 3 games, the rookie first rounder out of Boston College. You're not worried?
Man, happy birthday to my dog MJ Emerson, man. I don't give a damn about no Baltimore Ravens wide receivers. Is you serious? We got Denzel Ward. We got MJ Emerson, man. So what if Greg Newsome don't play? Rest up, my G. Get better, man. Cam Newton, he held it down last week. I know he had the one pass where the interception bounced off his hands and the receiver caught it for a long game, man. But, man, don't come talking to me about no Baltimore Ravens wide receivers. And you see our DBs? You see what we doing?
Hold on. You just got mad at me for not letting you get too confident because you said the last time I got too confident, Pittsburgh happened. So I'm going to ask you again. Is there even the slightest – okay, this is on my list. Are you even slightly worried about the Ravens receivers knowing how well the Browns secondary is played?
I'm going to take that as
no. Neither am I. And we had a conversation for Pittsburgh. What did I tell you before Pittsburgh? What was I most scared about Pittsburgh?
Mike Tomlin.
I wasn't worried.
Yeah.
That's what scares me. I'm not worried. I don't think these receivers can do anything against these DBs.
Bro, I'm so confident in my boy, man. Listen, like Mike Evans last year was one thing. He earned DeAndre Hopkins respect on Sunday, right? That's one of the greatest wide receivers we've seen in the last 10 years. Like I told y'all before the season started, like, dude is him for real. Denzel Ward looks to be back to his Pro Bowl form. He looks like to be becoming like being back to being that dude for real. Like, you know, Greg Newsome has played the nickel corner position better than most throughout 3 games this season. You see these young DBs out there, man, making moves and making plays. And like, you know, I'm laughing and I ain't trying to be disrespectful to the Baltimore Ravens at all, man. But I'm that confident in our DBs, and I just don't. They're good wide receivers and they can make some plays. But yeah, I'm confident in our group, man. I'm just confident. I'm that confident in that particular position group.
And do you share the same charisma as Earl of Pearl does about the Browns defensive backs versus the Ravens wide receivers?
Honestly, yeah. I mean, like I know I can't name a lot of the players in the NFL, but when it comes to the receiving core of the Ravens, I don't think I know a single name.
OBJ.
Oh yeah, I kind of forgot he was there. Is he playing or is he hurt? Yeah, I was gonna say.
They got him. They got Aguilar. They got Zay Flowers. Man, we know what Mark Andrews bring to the table. They got Rashad Bateman. They got a solid young core with a lot of potential, man. That's led by their tight end Mark Andrews. They got some dudes that can catch the football and some dudes that can make some plays. And they got a quarterback that can make some plays. I ain't taking that away from them, man. But I didn't see a corner who I believe me and Jason have seemed like to be the two people that's like, okay, MJ might be like really, really different. And every time he gets the opportunity to go up against somebody that's respected in the NFL, he holds his own. You know, we know what Denzel Ward is. Greg Newsome was a high draft pick who's balled out more often than he's not throughout his career. You know, so I'm looking at those 3 players in particular, and I'm like, okay, you know, I trust them dudes. Cam Mitchell got an opportunity to play an extended amount of time last week, and he did not disappoint. No. We ain't had Cam Mitchell in our rundown. We ain't had to make no canvas. We ain't had to throw no poll questions up. And this dude was a 6th-round draft pick. That's another testament to where this system is different. It's unique. You know, you got a guy like that stepping out there, and he's showing you right away, like, in this system, I can go out here and make some plays. And
you know what really helps, Earl? You know what really helps a guy like Cam Mitchell and all these DBs, especially the fact that they're covering for a second and a half before Ryan Tannehill's bailing.
Remember, we heard Juan Thornhill talk about like they don't get all the way in their sets that the defensive line is handling their business that quick. So.
Yeah, and I think that's what worries me about the Ravens a little bit is containing Lamar when he does roll out. That's where I'm concerned, but our defensive line is so good. I would assume that would fall onto the responsibility of the linebackers to clean that up.
Linebackers, we're going to talk on the TV show Friday who we think is best suited to spy Lamar Jackson. I don't want to give that away. But I will say, for a scrambler like Lamar, he wants to roll right as much as he can. Like, if he's gonna scramble, he's going to go right. What kills you as a defense is if you have pass rushers who get pressure, come around the edge, and there's a lane for him to step up and run. And that's where guys like Tomlinson, guys like Hurst, guys like Shelby Harris are of the utmost importance against a team like Baltimore, because those guys have to have sound discipline, rush their lane, do not allow Lamar Jackson to squeeze through these little holes. You got to bring him down if he's trying to get through a little crease in the line. But I don't see how any team in the league, as currently constructed, will stop Myles Garrett, Zadarius Smith from getting pressure on the outside. It comes up when Lamar Jackson steps up in the pocket. Can they bring him down? And we're going to find out. This is the first real test against a mobile quarterback. The only time Lamar has ever played a Jim Schwartz defense, he ran for 108 yards. It's not a big enough sample size. It's the only data point we have. It's not a big enough sample size. I'm not saying it's a trend, but it's the only game we have to go off of.
What was that, 2020 or 2019?
2020. It was October 18th, 2020. The Ravens beat the Eagles 30-28. Lamar threw for $187 and a touchdown, ran for 108 and a touchdown.
Bad job out of all three of us, and especially bad job out of you, Mike. And Ant, you'll back me up on this, right? Mike, I expect better out of you. You know what we should have did that we're gonna do?
What?
He ran for 108 against that Jim Schwartz defense. I'm curious to know what his rushing yard totals was against other teams
that year.
I
can tell you right now. Hold on.
I'm curious to know what it was.
Yeah, Mr. Numbers. I'm surprised we didn't actually think of that angle.
I mean,
like y'all ain't think of it either.
Hold on.
You're
so
not wrong.
In 2020, his rushing yards per game. Do you think 108 was the most he had all season?
No.
That is correct. The most he had was 124. Do you know who it came against?
Probably the Browns.
The Browns. He also scored 2 touchdowns that game.
He scored 2 touchdowns on the ground.
What do you say?
He scored 2 rushing touchdowns that game?
Against the Browns, threw for 1. So that season, he had games of 124 rushing yards against Cleveland, 108 against Philadelphia in the Jim Schwartz defense, 97 against Cincinnati, 94 against Dallas, 83 against Kansas City, 80 against the Giants, 65 against Pittsburgh, 58 against Indy, 55 against the Patriots, 54, 54, 51, 45, 35. And against Cincinnati, the second time they played, he only had 3 rushing yards. So on the season, he averaged per game, that averages out to – he had 1,000 rushing yards that season. He averaged 71 rushing yards per game that season.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Damn. And that was COVID year? Is that what you said, 2020?
He missed a game for COVID. I guess that was COVID. Yeah, 2020 was the COVID season.
Yeah, I throw this up real quick. I kind of want to talk about this real quick, right? Shoot. So when you go back to that particular draft, right, and that draft class, and I remember saying at that time, you know, when the Browns drafted Jock, in my opinion, he was drafted specifically for Lamar Jackson. This was the dude that the Browns was bringing in to handle that dude, right? And, you know, he's played 10 times better, you know, in year 3 of his career under Jim Schwartz than we've seen the first 2 seasons of his career. And it's going to be very interesting to see, you know, him in particular. Like, to me, that's like one of the key players in this game. Yeah. I want to see how he in particular matches up against Lamar Jackson. And if he can finally put on that performance against this particular player that Andrew Berry envisioned when he said, okay, this is why I need this particular player on this particular team in this particular division. Like, he was drafted, in my opinion, particularly for Lamar Jackson.
He tested through the roof athletically. He has the requisite skill set and athleticism to chase a Lamar Jackson. We're going to find out how good his eyes are and his reactions are, because and Lamar's highlight tape might be my favorite football highlight tape of all time. The dude makes people miss in ways I can't remember anyone ever doing before. So we're going to see. He's definitely going to have a chance to guard and spy Lamar. I think Delpit's going to get a couple shots. Walker might. I'm not sure Walker's fast enough if Lamar gets a step. McLeod maybe, but we're going to see. It's time.